Hello there, everyone. I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this is the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we are continuing on with the Studs and Duds series, and here with two of his studs and two of his duds is SC Romero. SC, thanks for coming back. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, man, same. Likewise, I enjoy being on this show. You know me, I'm hyping up the Mad Science Lab. Classes in session, ready to get it, man. Excited to be back.
I seen that the other day with you and Steve Chalmers on there, and I seen your podcast, and I said, these motherfuckers having episodes without me on. God damn it. So I messaged him, and he said, I'll have you on. And so I got on that one. But
Nice.
You want to take a second here? Tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
Yeah, brother. So you can find me on Dynasty Pros, doing some Devi shows with them, doing some IDP shows with them, and then RPO. You can find some articles, or as you mentioned with Steve Chalmers, hopping in their YouTube and stuff like that as well. Also the PPR Show on Twitter, and you can check out my YouTube channel, the PPR Show with SC Romero.
All right. Always a pleasure to have you. We will get into it. If you're wondering, do not adjust the camera. The color on your camera is all right. I am, in fact, pitch red. I have come off of some heat stroke here, and I feel like a burrito that's been in the microwave for too long. So we'll get through this, but it's been a rough week. Your first player is one of your studs, Damian Pierce, Houston running back, finished as RB28 last year, 939 rushing yards, 30 receiving, 5 total touchdowns, 181.4 full PPR points, good for 12.65 per game. Current ADP as of last week was 54 overall on Fantasy Pros. I'm going to bring that up quickly. He is currently 47. He went up a bit. RB19. Why is he one of your studs, SC?
Man, he's was on pace to get over 1,200 yards. Let's remember he did miss four games last season, and he was on pace to hit over 1,200. And I think with this new regime of coaches there, that he's gonna be a bulk horse carry back. They had Devin Singletary, but I think Devin Singletary's that's there to give him some breathing. But he's still gonna be that 3-down back. He did show some receiving skills. There was a slight, a couple weeks in there where he didn't get a touchdown, like 5 weeks or so. But I think the receiving yards you have here, it was 30 receptions is what he had, because he did hit over 1,000.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I might have copy and pasted the wrong cell in that one. Thank you for correcting.
No, it's all good because I was looking because I was like he was one of the first rookies last year to hit over 1,000 all-purpose yards. So I mean he's definitely a stud there, and I think
Do you have the receiving yards there? Since
165 was the total receiving yards.
30 receptions for 165. Okay, that makes more sense.
And then so I mean with that though, I mean they didn't draft the running back. They brought in Devin Singletary, who wasn't crazy in Buffalo, right? So it's like bringing him in. I think they believe in him, and I think Damian's a go-get guy. You're getting him lower than other running backs, starting running backs at that. So it's someone I really I'm taking when I can. I think he's a stud.
We will take a look at that ADP and where he's going. He's going 47th overall as RB19. He's in a weird spot for me. This range is a spot where I do target running backs, but I'm very selective here. Okay, let's get rid of Gibbs and ETN. They're kind of higher than this range, really. This range, even Aaron Jones, it's kind of Dalvin Cook I'm kind of avoiding. Pierce is someone I take when he gets to me, but he's not really a target. I normally target Dobbins, Sanders, Akers here. And then after those three, I tend to target the secondary group of James Conner and Damian Pierce. And pretty much everyone else on this list, I am completely avoiding. What are your thoughts here on this range in the early 20s of the RBs for yourself?
I would personally take Damian over Dobbins just because you have a Lamar Jackson issue. I think Lamar Jackson still gets bulk of the carries. I love Dobbins as a running back, but I mean, we might see the same thing with CJ Stroud, right? He might take some carries away from Damian Pierce. I probably will take Miles Sanders over him just because I think Miles Sanders so last year he can't take a full workload, and they might go towards him with Carolina since they gave him a good contract there. I will take him over Cam Akers, and that's just me being not in on Cam Akers. Second year back from an Achilles injury, not a big fan of. And DeAndre Swift too. I mean, he's someone that's been injured. He's good when he's on the field, but he hasn't stayed on the field. So I would take Damian over that as well. I think that's really good where he's at. I might take him over Cook, although if Cook does end up going to Miami, I think I have to take Cook over Damian.
I think Stroud could be a mixed bag for him. I think Stroud could take a little bit of the rushing attempts. Stroud is going to rush more than Davis Mills.
Right.
On the other hand, I think he's going to check the ball down more than most quarterbacks because he's a rookie. Right. So I think he might take a bit of his rushing upside away, but he adds some more pass catching volume. So I don't hate it. Like I said, he's not the person or the player I target in this 20 to 30 range per se. I target Sanders, Akers, Dobbins. He's the secondary group here, kind of with him and Connor. So he's not in a void. He's just kind of, I don't have a high volume share of him. It's just kind of, he's the in-between tier where I like him, but he's not prime on my list.
I will say with Stroud too, I don't think there will be plays designed for Stroud to just run, right? Like this is a run with Stroud. I think it's to be more so he just has to run out the pocket, where like Dobbins and Lamar Jackson, there's plays designed where Lamar Jackson runs the ball, right? So I think that'll be a big difference there for him.
Next up on your list, I believe, is a stud again. Yes.
Yep.
Trey McBride. And I don't know why I happened to choose this picture of him. But it looks like he's dancing in ballet. Anyways, we have Arizona tight end Trey McBride, was tight end 41 last year, obviously was mostly a backup until Zach Ertz's injury. 0 rushing yards, 265 receiving, a single touchdown, 66 full PPR points, good for 4.13 per game, 206 overall ADP currently on Fantasy Pros. Again, he was largely basic. It was glorified red shirt basically until Ertz went down to injury. He is going currently way out there. What did I say he was on there? 206. He's dropped even further. He's 214 overall. Tight end 28. Why is it you like him? I'm pretty sure you're going to have the same argument as me because I like him too.
Man, at this value, he's a stud, right? He's gonna outproduce this ADP. And I think the reason why people aren't high on him is what you said, because of Ertz. This guy McBride had a 74% catch rate last year. Okay, Ertz had a 68%, but he averaged 9.1 yards per carry, where Ertz averaged about 8.6, right? So if you switch flop, with Ertz and McBride and give McBride the same targets, let's say 2 years ago when Ertz was fully healthy and played a full season, he saw over 100 targets. Give that to McBride with the same catch rate. He has 83 receptions for just over 750 yards. Okay, so this is a guy that's gonna get the ball, and sure, Ertz is there, but guess what? McBride is a stud. He was an all-around complete package tight end 1 last year, and Ertz is getting older. Don't get me wrong, Ertz is good, but if you're in dynasties, he's the tight end you want, not the older one. McBride's gonna go in there and be an every down tight end because he can block, because he can catch the ball. He's someone that will be a quarterback's best friend, and I'm excited to see the leap from where he was last year to this next year.
No, I like it. I think he's great value right now in Dynasty because he's so far down there. Yeah. And even in redraft, I think he has sneaky value. There's not a whole lot left in this Arizona offense. And I think like Zach Ertz is above him here. This is redraft ADP. You can see Zach Ertz is roughly 18 picks above him and 3 tight ends. I think Zach Ertz is going to miss a lot of time. He's recovering from what, an ACL? Late season too. So if my memory serves me correct, I think Ertz is going to be out a while, and I don't know if Ertz plays for the Cardinals again. I am getting McBride as a late round dart throw. He's probably someone I might target in like a Scott Fishbowl late round dart throw, but I've held on to him in a lot of dynasty leagues. I really like him in that range. He's free. That's the best though. Okay, so the last of the drafted tight ends in most of my drafts, even the deeper ones, seems to be this range here of Laporta, Mayer. The rest of these guys, for the most part, like I've seen Musgrave get drafted quite a bit. Hurst, Ertz, Henry, Fant, McBride, Conklin, Likely, Taysom Hill. But
Mhm.
the majority of these guys after Mayer go undrafted in most of my redraft leagues.
Right.
Like McBride's probably rostered in Dynasty. Bellinger's probably rostered Ferguson Woods in Dynasty, but he's in the range where in redraft, he's basically free. You're getting him with your last pick. So I
Sure.
don't hate that at all. I like him. What are your thoughts here on what is essentially a free price tag?
I'm taking him over everybody. If he was in this draft class, he's my tight end one in this draft class again.
Yeah.
So I'm taking him over everybody. I think he's a phenomenal tight end. Even over Ertz and Henry. I mean, Henry was a good touchdown dependent, but now my guy in New England is going to be Mike Gesicki, and I would still take, McBride over that. Luke Musgrave, I get it. I really liked him. I think I talked about him on your show in one of the past ones. But he's also showed some injury concerns, right? Bellinger, another guy, but if Waller's healthy, Waller is still a consistent great athlete as well. So
Yeah.
McBride, like you just said, I mean, I think he's a late dart throw because he has some potential value because there really is no one outside of Hollywood, at least that we know of
Yeah.
right now in that offense to catch the balls, and
No.
McBride can be a heavy target.
Once we get past tight end 24 here, like Gesicki, Laporta, Mayer, that's a different range. But every one of these, I'm taking him over, with the exception of maybe like I like Jelani Woods. I liked Bellinger and Ferguson last year, but both of them, their situation's gotten worse and they brought competition in. So
Right.
the only one I'd be considering is Jelani Woods, but I'd pretty easily take Trey McBride over him. So
Right.
he's free. I like free. I did an auction startup yesterday and I learned how much I like pretty much free. I get a whole lot of value. I think I was one of the last people to make a pick, but I finished up with my 25 players when the next highest person had like 16. So I
Nice.
kind of waited. And then when I got to the range I liked, I drafted or I bid on like 25 players out of 30 and just
Nice.
loaded up on those middle guys.
Yeah.
We have your first dud here. Indianapolis receiver Michael Pittman finished as wide receiver 20, 30 rushing yards, 925 receiving, 4 touchdowns, 190.5 full PPR points, good for 13.53. ADP on Fantasy Pros is 58 overall. Going to check quickly to see if he's moved up in the last few days. He has moved to 57, wide receiver 23. Why is it you're lower on Pittman?
So I might get hate for Pittman. He is a good. I like him as a receiver. I try to target him, but for this conversation, I think he's a dud simply because last year he did less with more opportunity. He saw 12 more targets and got 11 more receptions, but he had 157 less yards. And he went from 12.3 yards per carry to 9.34, just almost a full 3 yards less with more opportunity there. And now they brought in a possible target hog in Joshua Downs. Anthony Richardson is a great quarterback, but I believe Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz are better throwing quarterbacks than Anthony Richardson. We might see something similar to what Lamar Jackson does, as just barely throwing over 3,000 yards, but yet still running the ball. I think it's going to be more of Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor than it is Anthony Richardson and Pittman. Last year was supposed to be the boom for Pittman, and I think we saw he's more of a Terry McLaurin type. He can get you a top 20 finish, but you're more likely seeing a consistent top 30, 20 between 30 range. So for that reason, I think he's a dud because I think, some people have him a little bit higher than they should.
Yeah, this case is easy.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor was hurt most of the season, should be healthy. You go from a statue quarterback that just threw for the last few years to one who's going to rush, like you said with Lamar. Even if you don't like Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, there's more pass competition for targets there than there has been in the past. And if none of that dissuaded you, you just look at the range where he's going here. I'm not a Ridley guy, but aside from Ridley, even Ridley, I think there's probably nobody else that I wouldn't prefer over him in this range. So, like I said, you've got all the reasons why he's going to perform worse than he did last year. Then you add in where he's going in the draft. And I prefer everyone else over him. He's someone I think I have a share of him. And like I said, in that auction draft last night, but he wasn't someone compared to these guys. These guys, I think all went in the 30s or 40s. I got Pittman for 13. That's why I got Pittman. It was not a reflection of my belief in his talent or his situation or where he's going in the draft. I just got him way under budget late in the auction draft. I assume you're thinking the same thing with this range here. You'd
Yeah,
probably prefer
I mean,
most of these guys.
the ones I'm looking at possibly taking him over is maybe Mike Williams, right? Because I mean, he's going to be great with Herbert there, but Quentin Johnston maybe over Christian Watson, but we know Watson's going to be the guy for Love, and maybe over Calvin Ridley. But I'd rather get McLaurin. Like, why not? If you're getting a guy, we've seen McLaurin do it consistently. We know McLaurin's going to be one a value in their offense. We don't know what this offense is going to look like in Indianapolis. It could be a completely different change. So for that reason, I would be out. I personally rather get Alec Pierce or Josh Downs later.
Yeah,
if you're getting those
I
receivers.
think Ridley and Watson, or he's safer than Ridley and Watson, but I think both of them have considerably more upside. Mike Williams is the one where they both have a same floor and they both have the same low ceiling. They're probably pretty comparable here. I think I'd still rather have Mike Williams in that offense, even though there's more competition. But I agree. I am out on Pittman at cost as well. Having said that, I did draft him last night, so I'm out on him at cost.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
got him
out
less
on
than
any
cost.
player.
I think.
Yeah,
I think you got him less than cost, so that's good.
Your final dud, we have Seattle quarterback Geno Smith, finished as QB5 last year, 366 rushing yards, which is a lot more than I expected. 4,282 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 424.38 points, good for 18.46 per game, 103 overall ADP right now. I'm going to check that in a second because I'm sure it's gone up. Every draft I've done has seen him higher. Those 11 interceptions were pretty high, but what I heard earlier on Fantasy Football Today was I believe he led the league or was second in the league in, I forget how they phrased it, but passes thrown that could have been picked off, basically shitty passes that he's lucky they weren't intercepted. He was first or second in that category. So his 11 interceptions were high, but from the sounds of that stat, they could have been much higher. They say 105 overall. Oh, I guess he's going same 102 QB 15. What are your thoughts on why you don't like Geno?
I mean, QB 15 is very possible where he finishes this year. I actually wrote an article on RPO about why he's a reason to sell high. He had over 550 passing attempts last year. I don't see them doing that again this year. Yes, they brought in JSN, but they also brought in Zach Charbonnet. I think they're another team that enforces that run. Have two running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Take that pressure off of Geno. If Geno threw for 50 less attempts last year and got the same yards per pass last year, he would have had less than 3,800 yards, and that would have moved him from QB5 all the way down to like QB16, I think. So that would have been a 10, 10 player gap. So for that reason, I'm out on him because if he's like the last quarterback on the board and you need one, sure, but I'm not taking him in this range that you're showing here. I think it's too high. I'm letting someone else take that risk. Hey, if he gets QB5 again, awesome. But I'd rather try to sell him than draft him.
Pete Carroll just seems like that old school Bill Belichick type where he would just, if he can rush the ball 75% of the time every game, he will. So right. I could definitely see that. And just even, not only did he draft Zach Charbonnet, the name is escaping me. Who else did they draft? They drafted someone else, another running back.
Kenny McIntosh.
Kenny McIntosh, which it seems like a pass catcher, but I think Pete Carroll's going to run as much as he can. Yeah. I'm not completely out on Geno. It's just the cost I find. Okay, so in every draft, these top 8 fly off the board. Mahomes all the way to Lawrence fly off the board. We get a little bit of gap, and then we get the Watson, Dak, Tua group that seems to go a couple rounds later. I get a bunch of them. I like this group, Watson, Prescott and Tua more specifically I like. Yep. But then the late range here of quarterbacks that I'm also comfortable starting, or I do mostly super flex. Like in a Scott Fishbowl, I'm comfortable with this group here of Cousins, Daniel Jones, maybe Richardson if you want the upside, but Geno and Goff. Right. I'm comfortable with that group because I do have a few leagues where I really waited and punted, and I got stuck with the Rodgers, Wilson, Carr group. That's a lot uglier. So I do have some shares of Geno. It's just, like I said, I'm agreeing with you as far as being out. It's just depending on the cost. A super flex, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes the Geno Smith, you're gonna have to fucking roster him. He's gonna be a lot better than starting Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell. So, what do you think of the cost there?
Right there, I'd rather get Rogers, Wilson, or Carr over him. I think they just have a better offensive scheme for them. Again, I just think Geno Smith, if you're drafting him, you're not drafting him for a cute top 5 QB. You got lucky with that last year. I hate to say that, but that's what I feel like happened. You got lucky getting him. So I'd rather get the guys, Jared Goff, who's looking pretty consistent in this Detroit offense. Aaron Rodgers, who might be different, but he has a great wide receiver 1 in Garrett Wilson. Russell Wilson with Sean Payton. I'm really excited to see what this offense does together. And Derek Carr in New Orleans, I think a change of scenery is actually going to do better for him. Yeah. And I'd personally rather take that over him. And simply because those guys I said, they don't necessarily have the same running game as Geno Smith does, which will again elevate some pressure off of him. And I think they're just going to force that. I've been comparing Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet to what we saw Arian Foster and Ben Tate. I think both guys could possibly get over 1,000 yards. And that's the last time we saw it.
I have started to see Geno go higher in some of the drafts, like the super flex ones, than he was earlier. So I have gotten less of him in some of those drafts. And you're right. I'm starting to find that there's a huge gap, like the Derek Carr, Rodgers, Wilson, not even Rodgers necessarily. Maybe it's just the Russell Wilson, Derek Carr duo there seems to go consistently, probably 5 rounds later. So I've started to gravitate towards them. I'm getting a little bit more Russell Wilson. Like, I'm a Saints fan, so I have a bit of both, but Russell Wilson just because I love Sean Payton. So I don't hate either, but yeah, you're right. Well, with that, we can wrap it up now. SC, thanks for joining me. You want to take a second again to tell everyone where they can find your work?
Yes, sir. Y'all can find me on Dynasty Pros doing Devi IDP shows with them every other week. You can also catch some of my articles on RPO, also hopping on their YouTube channel as well, at the PPR Show on Twitter, or you can find me at the PPR Show with SC Romero on YouTube as well.
I don't think I've made a guest appearance on that show yet, so get on that shit.
Yeah, it's been in a hiatus. I've actually, coming back. It's going to be coming back. I've stopped for a little bit, but it's going to be coming back. Been hopping on your shows and, helping out with the lab.
well, I'm on when you get back on. And if you don't end up coming back to it full time, I'm going to start going live, I believe 4 days a week. Comes the regular season time. Something I don't know the exact schedule. I'm going to have a waiver show, a game preview show, a game recap show. I don't know, something 3-4 days a week. And I'm looking for people who will be on with me a different day, 1 day a week. So if you don't end up going back to yours, give me a shout. I'm always looking for someone who will be on, 1 day a week with me, doing a variety of topics, whether you choose to do a game preview or a waiver top, whatever it is. But thanks again for joining me.
Yes, sir. Always a pleasure, man. And I'll be excited to join during season as well.
All right. Well, once again, this is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. This has been Studs and Duds with SC Romero on the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thanks again for joining me, SC, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Take care and have a good day.